purpose is that as you go through your studies, you'll be finding information sources from all over the place. It could be printed books, e-books, journal articles, web pages, whatever it is. And what RefWorks is a place to store all that information. Then what you can then do is convert it into the Harvard referencing style, and then you can import it from RefWorks into your Word document. So it's a way of actually storing the information that you use without having to keep loads of kind of written notes, basically. So what I'll do today is just show you kind of how it works and how some of the main functions kind of work. But as I said, on this guide here, this referencing guide, some of the basic stuff's on the Introduction to RefWorks page, but on this page here, the things I'm going to show you are all on here. The instructions on there anyway. So this shows you how to import references from things like a library catalogue, from a database, from a web page, from Google Scholar. It's all on there for you to go back and have a look at. But basically, once you sign up to RefWorks, you can sign into it from anywhere. It's completely web-based, so once you've got your account, whether you're at home or abroad or wherever you are, you can sign up to it. You can sign in. When you sign in the first time, you'll probably see a page like this. This opens up RefWorks, and we've got some menus of things across here and also down here as well. So the first thing to kind of let you know about is how you manage references once they're in there. A bit like Microsoft, a bit like email. You can create folders and you can store folders into emails into folders. And how you organise that is up to you. It could be by assignment title, it could be by research interest topic, whatever you want. That's the best way to kind of organise things in RefWorks. And the way you create folders is here on the left-hand side, My Folders, Add a Folder, and I'm just going to call this Test 1, and save. And it's created another folder. You can see all my folders are there already. So that's how you would organise the references. Then the next thing we need to do is to start pulling references into RefWorks so we've got something to work with. Now, before you do that, there is a little bit of kind of admin to do, because there's a web plugin that needs to be installed, which then enables you to bring references in from web pages. So to do that, and the instructions to do that is on that subject guide, on the referencing subject guide. To do that, you go to Tools, click on Tools, Install Save to RefWorks, and then you basically click and drag this into your Favourites bar. And I've already got it in there, that's it there, Save to RefWorks. So the plugin always, when you log in, you'll have that plugin just in your Favourites bar to use whenever you need it. Okay, so the next thing we need to do then is to start pulling in references into RefWorks to start making it work for us. And the way we do that, I'm going to start by using the library catalogue. So printed books. So if I go to library search, and one sec. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick search for service design. Now, when you search the catalogue, which you'll be familiar with, you see the results are displayed like this. Now, to get those references into RefWorks, then up here, the plugin that I've just installed is this one here. So all you need to do is click Save to RefWorks. It then opens up this side pane, and this is the same list that you've got on there. It displays the same list you've got on screen. So once you've decided which books you want to import, you basically just select them. And then at the bottom here, there's a button that says Save to RefWorks. And then I can close the sidebar, go back to RefWorks, and fingers crossed, if I just refresh it here in the top left hand corner, any minute now, hopefully. Yep, there they are. So it pulls in the reference. It pulls in the information you need from the book. Yeah?
Sorry, was this a plug-in? Or?
Yeah. And how you install it is on that guide on kind of installing Save to RefWorks. You just need to go into Tools, then click and drag it into your favourites bar, and it's there. So once you've got some references into RefWorks, then basically it gives you the information that it's found. Yeah. And this looks like a straightforward book. So presumably, do you know Cite Them Right, the online database of referencing? That is your main toolkit for how to reference these. And if you looked at how you reference a printed book on Cite Them Right, it will tell you start with the author, then you want the date in brackets, then you want the title in italics, then if it's a second, third, fourth, fifth edition, you want the edition statement, you want the place of publication, New York, and you want the publisher. That's what you need for a printed book, and that's what RefWorks has done. Because it's recognised that as a book, it's imported it into RefWorks and it said, right, it's there. Now, if you notice that some of that information is wrong, for instance, if you know the book you've got is a second edition and it hasn't put the edition statement in, then you can edit these and just tidy them up a bit. And the way you do that is by clicking on the one you want to edit, and then the pencil icon is usually the universal icon for editing anything. And then it's recognised it as a book. If, for instance, if it had pulled it in and it said it's a newspaper article, but actually it's a journal, then you get the option here to change it, and it will alter the information you've got there. So this is all at your fingertips. So it's done it as a book, which is fine, but I want to put in the edition, and the edition there, it says second edition, so I just put in 2, save, and it's changed it there. See the top one? It's now recorded it as a second edition because I've changed it. That may be useful to edit them if you notice that it's put the author in the wrong way round or something like that. Or sometimes with a journal article, it may miss the pages off, something like that. So you will need to know how it should be referenced to be able to recognise when it's missed a bit of information out. But then you've got control of it. You can just click on it, edit it, and you can change it to what you want. Now, the good thing about doing it this way is that RefWorks is not perfect, so you can't rely on it to do everything perfectly. You still need to be in charge of it. But the good thing about doing these as you go along is that the chances are you've got the original in front of you when you're creating this. So that's the best time to actually say, actually, do I need some more information about this? Rather than leaving it until your assignment's due to be submitted, then you're having to go back and find sources and think, oh, well, I missed off the date from this. I need to go and find it and check it. So it's good to do them as you go along. And it will save you a lot of time further down the line. Now, once you've actually got references into RefWorks, then if you remember, I created a folder and I called it Test 1 down here. So the way in which you move references into the folder is just by clicking and dragging them. And that's in there, it's in the folder. So you just click and drag them to wherever you want them to go. Now, just before we pull in some more references, then you can see at the moment that these references are in the Harvard style. That's because I already had mine set up for Harvard. Now, yours won't be set up for Harvard the first time you go in. So the way you choose your citation style is this. I don't know if you can see, but right down here on the bottom right-hand corner, it says Citation View. Now, on yours, I know you can't see it at the moment, but we have got instruction on the subject guide about this. Yours will probably say Normal View, or it may say Table View, Full View, whichever, probably Normal View. So that's not in the Harvard style. So to change it to Harvard, you click on the type of view that you want, bottom right-hand corner, choose Citation View, and there's a little wheel in the corner there. If you click on it, it allows you to search, and there we have Cite Them Right Harvard. Those two are exactly the same. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Cite Them Right Harvard, save, and then it displays everything in the Harvard style. So you're ready to kind of import those when you need to. So that's how you do a printed book. If we have a look at a web page, because I would imagine a lot of your research is going to be from websites. It could be blogs, it could be kind of professional bodies, etc. So if I just go to the open web, and I'm going to go to the BBC News website. Brexit again. Okay. When you're, if you find the, let's find something that's not quite as depressing. If there is anything at all, maybe. Oh dear. Okay. A lost boat that's found its way from Cornwall to Norway. Okay. Nothing controversial about that. So once you're on the page that you want, again, this web plugin that you installed in your favourites bar is what you use there. So I want to save this page, I want to reference this page. So click Save to RefWorks. Again, this comes up on the right-hand side, and you can see there it's decided that it's a newspaper article. Well, it's actually not a newspaper article. If you're referencing this, you'd reference it as a web page, not as a newspaper article. So all you need to do is change that to web page, and it alters the fields that it fills in. And I can see from here it's given me the title, the publication date, the URL, and the date it was viewed are all in there. Now, if for instance, this doesn't have an author on this, but if you're in a blog and it's not picked up the author's name, then all you need to do, where it says somewhere here, author, authors there, and I'll put my name in as the author. You can just amend it while you've got the original in front of you. Then save to RefWorks, close the sidebar. Now if you click View in RefWorks, it's going to open up RefWorks but in a new tab. So keep an eye on all the windows, because before you know it, you'll just be absolutely inundated with kind of windows there. But if I go back to RefWorks and refresh it, it does exactly the same thing. So, any second now. And this should be the case for any web page that you've got. But the only thing is with web pages that sometimes, depending on who set up the web page, RefWorks may not be able to find certain information. But what it is really good at is pulling in the URL, because you have to say available at, you've got to put that in to reference it. And some of them are absolutely massive. But what it does it for you, so you don't need to kind of retype or copy and paste. So we've got the author that I put in, the date, it's current, you can change that if it's a different date. The title in italics, available at, it's pulled in the full URL, and then crucially the date that you accessed it, because when you check on Cite Them Right, that is a crucial element of referencing. If you're referencing from the web, you've got to say what date you accessed it, because the thing is, web pages change. So if your tutor in 6 weeks' time goes back to check and it's completely different, that's not your fault, because the date you looked at it, that's what it said. And as long as you've logged that, then you're covered. You're covered for that. So it's really good for kind of referencing web pages without too much effort. That was only what, about 3-4 clicks, and you've got it in there. And then from there you can move it into whatever folder. If you're building a folder of kind of references for a particular assignment, just move it in, etc. So any questions about doing that from the web? It looks fairly, I mean, the good thing about RefWorks is it is fairly kind of easy. It's fairly kind of logical to kind of do that. Yeah? So you shouldn't have too many problems. If, for instance, if you're on a web page and it can't do the reference for you, basically you're going to need to create a manual reference yourself. And that's no different from you actually writing down the information, really, except once you've done it, you can store it and then forget about it. So the way in which you create an original reference is this. See here where it says add? Click on add and create new reference. Then you decide what kind of reference it's going to be. It defaults to journal article, could be a book, could be a web page. If you're not sure, you can use a generic one. I'm just going to do a book quickly, just to show you how to reference a book. If, for instance, you've got a paper copy, it's not available online, you're going to need to create a reference for it. So click on book, and then what you get to do then is to fill in the information here. So I'm going to put me in as the author again. Oops, and I've done that the wrong way around. Sorry about that. Published date, I will say it's from 2017 edition. It's a third edition. Publisher is, give me a publisher, I've got blank.
What, something like
Pearson,
Ashley
yeah.
Pearson or something like that, yeah.
And the place of publication, I'll just say it's London. And then when you've done it, just save. Oh, I haven't put a title in yet. That's well, this is pretty good at reminding you. Yeah, I'll just call it using RefWorks. It's not typed in. And then save. And there it is. It's done it in the Harvard style, so all the information I need for a book is in there. You could do the same with a web page, you could do the same with a journal article, a newspaper article, whatever it is you need to reference. Okay? So we've looked at importing from a catalogue, looked at importing from a web page. How many of you use Google Scholar? Yeah? It's a really useful tool for research, but it's slightly different importing from Google Scholar. So I'll show you how to do that as well. So if I go back to Library Search, I've got a link there to Google Scholar. Now, when you come into Google Scholar, first of all, you've got to set it up so that it can send stuff into RefWorks. And we've got instruction how to do this on the subject guide I showed you. It will show you how to do that. You click on these three horizontal bars, Settings, then down here, you've got an option called Bibliography Manager. Now, the first time you go into it, that won't say RefWorks, it'll probably say BibTeX. All you need to do is click the down arrow, select RefWorks from that. Yeah, it probably says BibTeX, so select RefWorks, save, and then when you do your search, I'll just do a quick one for that'll do. Then once you've done your search, you can see here, you get this link here, import into RefWorks. Underneath every result you've got there. So if, for instance, if you want this article and you want it in RefWorks, just click this link. Import into RefWorks, and whenever you get this page, it's the new RefWorks that we're using. And I've saved one document, and it should appear there any second now. And usually Google Scholar is one of the more reliable to do. Okay? And there it is. Okay, it's not pulled in the full, so what I would need to do is go back to the original and either change that to a journal. It's recognised it as a book. I didn't look too closely, I must admit. But it's recognised it as a book and it's giving you that as a book. But if you want to change it, edit, yeah, it has recognised it as a book. Change it to a journal article, fill in the information from the original that you've got, and save it, and you've got your reference in there. Now, so far, with the catalogue and with the web page, we've used the plugin. But with Google Scholar, it's got its own export function. So if you find information sources that have their own export function, you don't need to use the web plugin. It's best to use what they've given you, like we did with Google Scholar, because that's going to be the most reliable. And this, do you remember when I came into the class last week and we talked a bit about Articles Plus? that being the university's internal search engine that searches databases and e-journals. Has anybody used it since? Okay, well I'm just going to show you quickly how you export from there. Because you will be using it in time to come, I'm sure. Okay, so if I just go back. And to get into it is this button underneath here. And I'll just do a search for sustainable design. This is only going to take about 30 seconds. So when it actually displays its results, what you do on this and what you would do on many other databases is the first thing to do is look for an export function on the database itself. If there isn't one, use the Save to RefWorks plugin. But if there is one, use that one. It's going to be more reliable. And as soon as these results come on, any second now, there you go. So once you've got the results there, you'll obviously be looking to see whether or not it's something you want. If you do decide you want them, you just select them by ticking them. And then when you're ready to export them, up here, you can see there's a folder, My Library. And the ones that I've selected are in there because I can see it's got 3 items in. And then on the left-hand side here, you can see that it's got its own link to RefWorks there. Yeah? So all you need to do is click this arrow and that will import them into RefWorks for you. Click that. And new RefWorks again. And they're on their way. Now it's the same with most databases. A lot of databases will have their own export function. So if you're finding articles that you want to keep in RefWorks and you're on a database, first of all look for a link that says export or save. Go into that, and then if you see that it's got its own function for RefWorks, just follow that sequence through, just as we did there, and that will pull them in a lot more easily. If you don't find one of those links, then use that. The same as we did with the web page. Use that, fill in the form, and that will pull it in for you. If neither of those work, which sometimes that has happened, then you go into RefWorks and add a new reference. You create a manual reference, the same as I did with the book. Any questions about any of that? Is it all fairly it's fairly kind of logical. I mean, that's what I do like about it. I know some of you, I know you said that you'd use Zotero. And I don't know how you feel it compares. It'd be interesting to know how you feel they compare with each other.
Similar. I'd have to use this one to kind of compare it.
Yeah, once you get to know this a bit more, then you may spot differences that are kind of meaningful rather than just presentational, which it kind of is at the moment. Okay, what I'm going to do is just show you one database. And then what we'll do after that, once we've got these references into RefWorks, I'll then show you how you then move them into a Word document. Yeah. So we're just going to do one more database and then we'll start interacting with Word. So one of the ones, I don't know if, let me just close some of these. When I came into the class, do you remember I talked about the database A to Z list? And it's from this page here on the right, A to Z of databases. A few good ones that we looked at Business Source Complete when I came into your class. And we did a search then for, I think it was disruptive innovation. I think that was the search we did. A really good business-based database. But we've got some really good humanities databases as well, which will have coverage that you would be interested in also. So do explore the databases themselves, but I'm just going to open up one that's called Arts and Humanities Full Text. And again, Google can't get past this page, so it's behind a password. Once you're in a database, I usually use the advanced search anyway because you get more options. So for the search, I'm going to look for full text, I'm going to look for articles, and I'm just going to do a search for visual communication. And search. And you'll find a lot of our databases look exactly like this because they're from the same supplier. So you'll get the same interface on those. It's a bit different to Business Source Complete. That's from one of the rival suppliers. It's a bit like kind of Sky and Cable and Freeview, and you know, they all kind of do packages that universities buy some more of this and some more of that. That's all it is. But they all work pretty much in a similar way. Once you get your results up, then select the articles that you want to save in RefWorks by ticking them. And on this one, if you then look for save or export, is what you're looking for. In this case, it's save. Click on save, and then you can see there RefWorks comes up as an option. Save to RefWorks, and yeah, that's fine, continue. New RefWorks is what we want. And 3 documents are being sent to RefWorks. And any second now they should be in there. Yep, and there they are. They're the 3 on visual communication that I looked for. Again, actually these have done them all right. It's even got the page numbers in, which sometimes that's the bit it kind of loses on the way, as it were. But everything else looks, volume number, issue number, yeah, that's all in there, that looks absolutely fine. But if you did spot something, click on it, pencil, edit it, and then it's done. And it's ready to be saved in one of your folders. Now, this is all well and good, and it saves them for you, but one of the things you're going to need to do is to actually transfer them into a Word document, because that's the end product. Now, there's 2 ways you can do that. One way is by using a tool that's called, I always get this kind of slightly wrong. I'm just going to get you the proper name for it. Citation Manager. Now, this Citation Manager tool is a tool that was developed by Microsoft to interact with RefWorks. There is another tool that's developed by RefWorks to interact with Microsoft, but you'd only use that if you're using Windows 2007. It gets a bit techy and a bit kind of messy. But we've got advice about that on the subject guide. But because we're using Windows 2010, and if you're using a Mac, you would use Citation Manager. And the way you do that is by going to Microsoft Word, so just open up a blank Word document. And I'm just going to put some random text in here. So I've got something to work with. And the way in which you install Citation Manager once you're in Word is this. If you go to here, Insert, and Store, it's one of the apps that's in there. And then do a search for RefWorks. And there it is, RefWorks Citation Manager. And what it does, when you've got RefWorks open, it then communicates with your RefWorks account. Just go update. Communicates with your RefWorks account, and it pulls in all the references that you've got in your RefWorks account alongside your Word documents there. So this is everything that I've got in my account, which is an awful lot at the moment. If you want to see, you see here where it says all references, that's just a list. I can change that alphabetically by date, whatever I want to do, but here is all my folders as well. So the one I created was test. So by assignment title, whatever it is, you can open up your folder there. If you want to you've saved all the references for this assignment in one folder, have it running down there so that you can use it as you go along. Okay, so I'm just gonna, there's nothing in that one, so I'll just go to all of them. Now, the way in which you pull in a citation, because with the Harvard style, in the body of your text, you've got to do open brackets, author, date, close brackets, yeah? And then what you do is create a bibliography at the end of your assignment with all of your references in there with the full information. So if, for instance, I want to cite one of these references here, then what I do is I put the cursor where the reference is going to go, click, it's going to go there. Then locate which reference it is I want to import. I select that and then go quick cite. And I happen to pick one that doesn't have a date. That is part of the course really. So I'm going to pick another one and quick cite. And that one did. So Griffin 2016 is what it's pulled in. And I don't know if you noticed then, but at the same time as I pulled in those two references, it started creating the bibliography at the bottom there. And it's put them in, there's only two, but they are in alphabetical order. So if I choose another one, and I'll just put it here, I'm just randomly picking spots there, really. I'll just go down and pick another one at random. Quick cite. And that's something I need to go and look at, 'cause it's maybe I've been experimenting with some of this stuff, so I obviously have one in there that's not been checked. So sorry about that, but you won't encounter that because you will have checked all of yours. So just one other.
Sorry, a couple of questions.
Sorry, yeah.
Quick question, just comparing it to Zotero, you have to do separate in-text citing and then do the bibliography after. So
Yeah.
it seems to me that this does it both simultaneously
It
at the
can
same
do,
time.
yeah.
In order from, as you're citing it from the top.
Yeah, as soon as you cite, it should pull in because it's got the whole of your RefWorks library there running.
But it'll be in bibliography order. It's
Yeah.
not going to be in the citing in-text order.
No, it'll put them in. These should all be coming up in alphabetical order. So I just chose three at random. So G, H, N. It's putting them in alphabetical order by author name. Is what it does. The only thing to be careful of is that if you then go back and you decide you don't want that citation, you've got to delete it. As you delete the citation, it doesn't automatically delete it from the bibliography. It does, but it doesn't do it straight away. That's the annoying thing. So you can delete the citation, the bibliography will still be there until you log in again, then you'll find it's gone the next time you do it. The other thing, sorry.
So can I ask, if you don't have Word, is there like a similar kind of plugin for, I don't know, Google
No.
Docs?
No, because this is a Microsoft, so it would only work with Microsoft products. But what I'm going to show you in a sec is that if you don't have a tool that interacts with it, how you can just pull them in anyway from RefWorks, but I'll show you that in a second. So just before we have a look at that, with these in-text citations, one of the things that you might need here, see there, it's got McDonough 2003. Now, if for instance you've used a direct quote, then you're going to need to put in a page number because that's a requirement of using a direct quote. So if it's in quotation marks, you need to add a page number into that. Now, if you can see this one, McDonough 2003 there, I want to add a page number to that, but I can't just type it in because it's all coded. So I can't just use it as free text. So the way I do it is to click on it, try again, double click on it, and it opens up a little edit form at the side there to edit this citation. And the page numbers will go in the suffix box down here. So I can go space P.26. And when I've done it, insert citation, that's now amended that citation to McDonough 2003, page 26. That's all you need to do. And for in-text citations, you don't need to do anything more than that because Harvard is a pretty clear and a pretty kind of easy way to cite, really. It's not one of the really onerous ones that some others kind of are. The only other thing you need to watch is that if you've referred to the author in the body of your text, say McDonough said, and made a point, and then all you'll need in the brackets is the date and the page number. So you can eliminate any bits of that information just by opening up the form here and including the author, including the date. If you click not include the author, it takes the author out. If you refer to the author in your sentence leading up to the citation, you don't need to put them in again. It's just a, yeah.
Around, say you find a quote in a particular book from an author, but the quote is actually from someone else. So whose name do you put?
Secondary referencing, yeah.
Yeah.
There is guidance on
I
site
think
and
you
right
would do
about that.
Yeah.
But what you would need to do is that you, in the body of your text, basically, in terms of the reference you would put in the bibliography and what you would put in the citation, it's what you've got in front of you. So it's the place where you found that information. So if it was a book by me, but I quoted Leo, is that what you mean? And you want to refer to
Yeah.
Leo's quote that I put in my book, you would say something like, your phrase is better than me, but you say something like, as Thompson pointed out, Leo clearly said, or however you want to phrase it, and then you would reference me, my book, because that's the one you've got.
And it gets a little confusing when you're using a journal article, but in a journal article, it's referencing, because you always have to reference the original.
The one you've
like,
got in front
research, right? You don't reference in text the author of the journal article.
of you. Yeah, if that's the one you're using, you do, because you only reference what you have there. So you could say,
don't have to go back to what was referenced.
You don't have
reference
to-
the original.
you don't have to find it because you're using it as it's been.
Okay.
As
That
long
was
as you're,
always kind of a
but it's always as long as you make it.
confusion to me.
It is a bit, but as
I
long as
thought you
you.
always had to, reference the
I mean,
original,
if you-
whoever came up with the research or findings.
If I was the author of the paper you've got and I quoted somebody else and you want to quote them, you want to make reference to the fact I've quoted Leo. That's what you mean by
Or if
secondary.
you're paraphrasing it, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
different
But you
quotes.
would still only reference the article you've got,
Okay,
not the one that you haven't got.
thank you.
Because the article you've got is referring to the one you haven't
Or
got.
what if you read both sources? Like,
Then
for
just go with
example,
the
I read a
original.
journal article
Yeah.
that says such and such research suggests this.
If you then went
So
to the
then
original,
I went and I researched more to further understand what they were referring to. So in that case, do I need to name both?
if you're going to refer to
sources?
them both in the
Yeah.
essay, if you're only going to, if you do your research and you then go off and find the original,
Yeah, which is what.
and
I
that's
did.
the only one you're going to refer to in your essay, then you only need to reference that one. But if you're going to refer to the other paper that first led you to it, then you need to reference both.
Okay.
But if you're just going to refer to the article that led you to the original,
Yeah,
then that's the one that you reference, because that's the original piece of work you've got in front of you.
okay.
So that's always the guide, is whatever the original you've got in front of you is what you reference.
Okay.
And then in the body of your text, you need to find a form of words that explains that's what you've done. Like, as Thompson points out, Clary said, and then you would go Thompson 2016. Although I'm referring to what Leo said. Do you see what I mean? So
He said what she said, what she said, what she found.
maybe when you've got a couple of examples, just pop in and see one of those.
Okay.
And it might make it easier if we've got some concrete examples there
Yeah.
to do. Because it is really confusing. That's probably the most asked question that we get from a lot of people, because it is.
I'm
But
sure
basically,
I'm probably
whatever
doing it
original,
wrong, so I want to make
Yeah.
sure I understand.
it's whatever original you've got in front of you is what you'd reference. But you need to find a form of words that explains that you found some additional information in that that refers to something else. Sorry, was there something you were going to ask as well about? Okay, so with using that with Word, is any questions about that though, about the kind of mechanics of using RefWorks with wording? It's fairly straightforward, and if for instance, once I've kind of opened it up and once I've found the kind of citation manager, then when I come back to it again, I just need to go to my add-ins, and there it is. It'll be in your add-ins. You can open it up whenever you want to use it. Now, if you prefer not to use that, And some people do prefer not to use it because of the thing about being more in control, because it creates your bibliography for you, but it's not free text. So if I look at this, if I click on this, see that it highlights all of the bibliography in one set, because it's all part of a code, it's all part of a block. So if I spotted a mistake, I couldn't click into that and change it.
You can't double click and then edit? No.
You'd need to edit it in RefWorks, and then it will pull it back in. So that's one of the difficulties about that, is that it's not free text for you then to manipulate.
So I think in Zotero, that's the difference.
Does it allow you to do that in?
Yeah,
with
you
the-
have the plugin for Word, but it'll just, basically put it in and you can go in and kind of
Okay.
edit or put it in italics, or it's not all pre-formatted.
Right. Okay. Because the other way around this is that if you didn't want to use this at all, to put in citations in the body of your work, it's not too onerous. It's only open brackets, author, date, page number, close brackets. But then obviously the big body of work is your bibliography, because that's a huge amount of typing, it's a huge amount of checking to kind of do. So if you wanted to do that, instead of using this, then what you would do in your Word document is, first of all, put the cursor where you want the bibliography to go. Then, going back to RefWorks itself, if, for instance, if I opened one of my folders, and maybe I'd got all the references I want for this assignment in one folder, in which case I open it, I select all of them, and then here, Create Bibliography. Click on Create Bibliography, check that it's given me the right style that I want. It is the Harvard Cite Them Right style. And then if I go Copy to Clipboard, that basically copies that to the right click of your mouse. It's the same as highlighting and copying, or highlighting Control-C. Then go to Word, make sure the cursor's where you want it to go, right click and paste, and it's in there. And this is just plain text. So from here, there's no issues about changing the font, changing the size. You can make any changes that you want in there. It's just free text. So that's all you need to do. It's just, that basically means that you've done all the work in RefWorks. You've checked that the references are correct. You've got the correct information, the volume, the issue number, the edition. It's all in there. When you're ready to import it into your assignment, so all you need to do is just select what you want, create bibliography, copy to clipboard, paste it into a Word document. And as you can see, it's kind of in there. Whatever order you have them in, it will still put them in alphabetically, as a bibliography should be.
Sorry, two
Yeah.
more questions.
No.
Is there a way or an add-on that once you've written your paper, you've done all the citations, the bibliography, any kind of thing that'll go back and automatically cross-check if your citations are in the correct order?
No.
No.
Is there in
Just
Zotero?
curious. When I think about, people
When you
writing
say-
a PhD and they've got like
But it
pages and
depends how you
pages of.
do.
But when you say in the right order,
Don't do numbers, then it will just be alphabetical.
yeah.
Do you
Is
know?
that what you mean? Just an alphabetical kind of list? Because you don't need to.
I guess maybe I didn't explain that right. I guess more it would be like cross-checking that the citations match up with what you're citing. Does that make sense?
So if you've taken photo.
When,
yeah.
if
If
you
you've
use
taken a
that-
bit of research, you have a few sentences, you did
This-
the in-text citation, but what if you go back and you're like, oh no, did I use the right resource? Did I use the right?
that would be if you were not using that word app, not the word. It's the word app that pulls in from the citation.
Yeah.
It pulls in the reference that you selected.
Yeah.
So that's one way to kind of
Because
guarantee.
what I've been doing
they're in
with
there,
Zotero, it's probably not the most efficient, but I do the in-text citations separate from the bibliography. So it
Yeah.
involves like first doing the bibliography and then going back, and sometimes I've manually put in the in-text
Yeah, that's
which
what I would
probably
have
isn't
done
very
here with that
efficient,
one.
because then I go back and I'm like, oh no, did I
Yeah,
put
as
the
far as
in-text
I'm,
in the right?
there isn't a tool in here that would do that. I'm not aware of any of that. I mean, I've used EndNote, is the one that quite often PhD, especially medics, can use.
Mhm.
And even when we were using that one, I wasn't aware of a tool in EndNote that did that for you.
Mhm.
I'm not aware of one. I can ask and see if there is anything, but I wouldn't want to get your hopes up that there is going to be something that would do that. So I'm not absolutely sure how, because you may have an in-text citation that's Andrews 2016, but there may be 2 or 3 separate works that you've used that have the same author.
Exactly, that's the problem I came up
And
with.
I don't think there isn't enough information in the citation necessarily to be able to identify what it kind of links to, unless you're using a tool like the kind of citation manager. So I mean, I will ask, and the guy that popped in there, Paul, I went to look for him to help with the tech stuff, and he was at lunch. He's our tech person for kind of ref work, so I will run that by him, and if I do find something, I'll
And if we want to set up just a one-on-one kind of, we have more questions, would we do that through academic support?
no, just come to me.
Okay.
Just email me,
Okay,
and if I'm not around, you can ask Leo
great.
to do that as well. But just that's what we do in the library. That's our kind of bag. What you would go to academic support for is if there were questions about referencing itself. So questions about how do I do this? What information do I need to include in a reference? Stuff you get from Cite and Write. They can also help with that kind of part of referencing itself. We can also do that on a one-to-one as well. But what we can do in addition to that is help you use any of these tools as well.
Or helping you, like if we want to do more deep research, like for example, I came up with a few sources in, the UAL business source database or what
Yeah.
have you. So it takes me to a journal, like a Wiley, and then they wouldn't give me access. I found that on a couple sites, and it was
That'll be
really
us.
frustrating because I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
logged
yeah.
into UAL,
Yeah.
and then I couldn't access the journal. I had to create a whole other account on Wiley, and then UAL wasn't coming up as a university, and I just got
Sometimes
frustrated. So I'm
yeah,
like, forget
it
this.
is
I won't
frustrating.
even read the article.
No, one of the things it doesn't exactly get around that, but when you go to do a search on Business Source Complete, you get an option to select full text. That will give you access to everything that we've subscribed to. The problem with a lot of journals and databases is that universities buy them as a bundle, but they only buy access to certain crucial bits of that bundle. Although when you do a search, you'll see the entirety of the bundle, but it doesn't necessarily mean that UAL is subscribed to every single bit of it. So you will be seeing references to articles where there is no full text available. That may be what's happening. In which case, then, if you email me or come to the library desk, we can try and get you the full text from the British Library. That's one of the things that we do, interlibrary loans. We can get you, if it's one that they stock, then they supply to a higher education. We can request the full text from the British
Basically,
Library.
just let me see the abstract.
Yeah, yeah,
And then it
that's
says
what
something
it'll
like,
be.
you have no more access, you
Yeah.
have to create an account.
I mean, sometimes on things like Wiley, when you actually look at a list of results, if you see a little green wedge in the right-hand corner with a tick, that means yes, we subscribe to that. And sometimes if it's not there, it means you could only see it, you can see the abstract, you can only see the fact that the article exists. But UAL subscription doesn't cover access to everything that's on the whole bundle they buy. That's probably what's happening there. But get in touch with me and I can check it out and see if it's available on a different platform or if we put in a request to the British Library. Usually if they've got it, then for articles it's fairly quick, a week, 10 days, something like that. It's not too bad, but just don't assume you can't get it at all. Just get in touch with me and we can sort it. Okay, in terms of RefWorks, again, profound apologies for the tech not working. I don't know what's happened this morning because it was absolutely fine when I checked it earlier.
When Paul came in, he did offer his apologies. He said he'd been on the phone to ProQuest, and they said they had some technical issues in the US that were affecting new accounts.
So it's
And
America's fault.
That's why none of you could get on today. So there were genuine problems with the network over there. So they expect to get it sorted by the end of today.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry about that. Yeah.
Hopefully, then by tomorrow you'll be able to go to the RefWorks guide. Sorry, the referencing guide, which again is subject guides and nearly there, referencing. And then these links do normally work. As Leo said, there's obviously a specific problem today. Sign up, once you've actually got your confirmation email and it's all done, then you can sign in through that link and just bookmark that link. So you get into it from anywhere, you can just log in from anywhere from there. All the stuff that we looked at today, on this first page there, this introduction to RefWorks, that talks about how you create folders. That talks about how you select your referencing style, so where you would go to select Harvard. And on the second tab, exporting references into RefWorks. Right, that tells you how to install the Save to RefWorks plugin that we clicked and dragged up to the favorites bar. This tells you how to create a manual reference. If that doesn't work, how you actually create it, just a few bullet points there. How you edit references, and on the right hand side here, how you export from different platforms like the library catalogue, Articles Plus, a web page, Google Scholar, and the database that we looked at as well. So those instructions are all on there for you to just go and just remind yourself of how we kind of did that. I would imagine the one you're going to be using most, certainly initially, is probably the web plugin. Because if you're doing quite a bit of research on the internet, then that is going to be such a crucial, such a useful tool to just bounce it straight into RefWorks, create it and install it. But as you kind of branch out into using other sources like databases, I mean, if you're using Google Scholar already, that worked perfectly well. There's no kind of issues with that at all. But if you do encounter any issues with any of the other databases, just come in and you can ask for me or Leo, or just speak to whatever librarians on duty. We can help you with that. We can look at what the issue might be and help you with it. Yes. As long as you create your account while you are a current student, then when you leave, you can change your email address from your university email address to a Gmail one and continue using it. It's an alumni, it's got an alumni kind of feature to
It
it.
doesn't expire.
No, as long as UAL subscribes to RefWorks, it will be current.
I thought we were cut off once we graduated.
No, you often are with a lot of things, because one of the other things that you can do, if you don't want to rely on this and don't think it's trustworthy, there is a way to migrate all your references from RefWorks into Zotero. And Zotero and Mendeley are two that are free from the web. So you've got somewhere to store them if you want to. But the problem is we haven't tested this alumni thing because we only just got subscriptions to this. And it only became active just before Christmas, so nobody that's creating an account has left yet. So the first people that are going to be leaving will be probably undergraduates in June. So over the summer we'll get the chance to test how this kind of works and whether it does work smoothly or if there are any issues with it. So by the time you come to leave, which will be next December, we'll have it all sorted and all down to pat. But yeah, you can carry on using it as long as UAL maintains its subscription, which at the moment it's got no plans to do anything else.
But only as long as we're students here, like after that.
No, once you finish, yeah, you just convert on your RefWorks account. You would have set up the account with your university email, and it requires you to do that because that's its verification that you are a UAL student. So it won't let you sign up with a Gmail because it's got no idea you've got anything to do with UAL. Once you've done that, and it's verified that you are a UAL student, then when you're due to leave, you just go in and you can change your login details from your university email to a Gmail one, because it's already verified that you're allowed to continue as alumni because you created your account while you were a current student.
So we'll still
No.
be able to access the materials as well?
No.
That's a
Well,
big-
the ones from the web you can, Google Scholar
Yeah,
maybe,
but like, we will not, no longer have access to the university
No,
books and
unfortunately
databases
that-
and all that.
no, unfortunately that stops as soon as your network account stops
Yeah.
working. So as soon as that is finished, then you won't have access to all the databases and stuff like that, I'm afraid. Sorry. There's no way around that, but as I say, you can carry on using RefWorks. If you then go on to use it for your own personal use, your own individual research, whatever, and the chances are that if you do go on to study somewhere else, they'll have a similar tool, if not the same anyway. So you will have access to this from anywhere. And what I would say about RefWorks is that when it works really well, and it's quite simple, it's quite clear. The interface is not too it's not too onerous to use, and usually if you're looking for something, you'll find it where you expect to find it. It's quite logical in the way it's set out. And again, you don't need to be on site, you don't need to download any software, you can use it from anywhere, so it kind of goes with you. Okay, so any other questions about that? Do you think it's something that you will use? I mean, you can be honest if you want, because I mean, part of our job is to let you know what's available. It's entirely up to you if you think it's a useful tool for you to use or maybe not. But what I would say is that if you start using it sooner, because we're only in March and your course runs up until December, so if you think about where you're storing references at the moment, are they written, are they stored in another tool? I don't know where you're doing that. So there's some free things there's a Microsoft tool, there's this, there's that. But I would recommend you to use this one, because if anything goes wrong with it, we've got people like Paul that came in that can chase up and find out what's happening. Whereas with the free ones off the net, we've got absolutely no say in that at all. Sorry.
I have a question. Is it possible to keep track of what I actually used and didn't use at the end?
Well, you'll have your RefWorks library there. So unless you deliberately delete anything, it'll still be there. Because the other thing is, I didn't show you this, just finally. Here, if we're in RefWorks, and if I just go back to here, you can see there are 3 different screens that I can look at. This screen there that says all documents, that is everything that I've saved in RefWorks. Whether I've put it into a folder or not, it stays in that list of all documents, which I can sort alphabetically, I can sort by date, whatever. So the only way documents get removed from there is if you deliberately click on it and delete it. That's all. Otherwise, it will always keep a record of everything there. And that's a running record. Now, in terms of functionality, last imported, this keeps a record of the order in which you import things. So as I was pulling references in from databases and Google Scholar, they were going into this last imported screen, and they sit there for a while until I decide where I want to put them. So from this screen is when I click and drag them into folders. And then I can clear this screen and start a new session. And when I clear this screen, clear last imported, it just makes it easier to kind of use, and then I can go back to all documents. And that keeps a record of everything that was in that last imported screen. So that's your main library. It's just that you've got the option of folders there for quick access and for organisational kind of purposes, really. But it will always maintain everything that you've used in there somewhere, unless you actively go and delete it. That's all. So yes. So you know, something that you may put in today will still be there in November, unless you deliberately delete it. It'll be wherever you choose to put it. Yeah. Okay. Well, again, sorry about not being able to get everybody signed up, but hopefully by tomorrow you'll be able to sign up and then just jump in and